Hello friends, I am Krishnuni and you are watching KRISH'S Academy. In today's video, we will discuss about the roles played by a finance manager in an organization. This video is the third video in a series of lectures relating to ACCA's financial management paper. So in your opinion, what are the roles played by a finance manager in an organization? The major roles played by a finance manager in an organization are 1. Identifying appropriate source of long-term finance. 2. Management of working capital. 3. Investment decision. And 4. Risk management. So let us go in detail to all these functions. Role 1. Identifying appropriate source of long-term finance. What are the different sources of finance available to a finance manager? Can you tell? Yes, you know that. 1. Equity. 2. Preference shares, which has got certain preferential rights over equity shares, right? Then debentures, it's a kind of debt, you know that. Then bank loans and loans from other financial institutions. And the 5th source is retained income within the company. What are the different considerations to be given by a finance manager while opting for a source of finance? The first consideration is that equity is more costlier than debt. The return to be paid on equity shares is more than that of debts. And why is it so? Equity shareholders are the owners of the company. When somebody invests in equity of a company, it is not guaranteed that he will get a return on that. If company makes a profit, then he will get it, and it is not even sure that he will get his money back from the company. Whereas in the case of debenture holders, he will get regular return on his investment and he can get back his invested money at any point of time. So equity is more costlier than debt. Now, if a finance manager, after considering that equity is more costlier than debt and go for a cheaper debt finance, company may have existing loan agreement. This is called as a loan covenant. If it prescribes a certain extent of debt and beyond that company cannot borrow. So if that limit has crossed, finance manager doesn't have that option. So he has to consider about that. Now, if the finance manager decides that he will obtain long-term source of finance through bank finance, then he should ensure that he has got the appropriate security to pledge or mortgage against that loan with the bank. So if that security is not available, then he cannot go for that option. So after considering all these things, if he still feels that he will go with issuance of equity to external part, then it may not look attractive to the existing shareholders. Why is it so? Because equity shareholders has got certain voting rights in annual general meetings and other meetings. So if a new form of equity or new bunch of equity shares are issued to external public, the existing shareholders voting shares may get diluted. So it may not be attractive to them. So while selecting an appropriate source of long-term finance, a finance manager has to consider all these areas. Now we will move on to the next role, that is working capital management. So what is working capital? Working capital is the difference between a company's current assets and current liabilities. So what are the current assets of a company, or in other words, what include the current assets of a company? Current assets of a company includes inventories, receivables, and cash in hand. Then what includes current liabilities? Current liabilities include rent payable, utilities payable, loan installments payable, etc., etc. So the difference between current asset and current liability is working capital. So company of course needs to invest some amount in working capital to run the day-to-day affairs of the company. However, investing in working capital doesn't directly earn profits for the company. So the finance manager should ensure that the optimum amount is allocated for working capital, or if it is far more than the optimum required working capital, the company is in a losing position. Or if the fund allocated to working capital is less than the optimum level, level, then day-to-day activities may not be carried out in a proper manner. So what actions have to be carried out by a finance manager while managing its working capital? Finance manager should ensure that unnecessary amount is not tied up in inventory. At the same time, he should also ensure that there is sufficient amount allocated to inventory. Otherwise, it may result in a customer dissatisfaction. For example, when the customer orders, we don't have the stock available in our hand to deliver it to the customer, then it will result in a customer dissatisfaction. Now, in terms of payables, finance manager should ensure that the suppliers are being paid on time. Otherwise, they will not come to deal with you in future. However, at the same time, he should also establish a system for negotiation of appropriate credit terms with the suppliers, right? Now, most important function of finance manager in terms of working capital, he should ensure that collection from customers are collected on time. So finance manager should ensure that there is a team located for collection of funds from customers. So these are the roles played by a finance manager in terms of working capital. We will discuss about all these in our subsequent chapters. Now we will move on to the third role of a finance manager, investment decision. So why a company is being formed? A company is being formed to make profits for the shareholders. Now, to maximize the wealth of the shareholders, or in other words, to earn profits for the shareholders, a company has to invest in different projects, right, which earns income for the shareholders. So what are the factors affecting a finance manager's investment decision? The first and foremost thing is that finance manager should consider estimated cash flow from the project to be invested matches with the company's objectives. Now, the return expected from the particular project. Finance manager should ensure that the return expected from a particular project is in line with the shareholders' objective, because this is why the project is being considered by the finance manager, to increase the wealth of the shareholders. Now, risk involved in the project. A project under consideration is located in a country where there are a lot of political tensions involved. So as a finance manager, whether you should go and invest in that particular project, no, it is against the shareholders' interest. So these are the considerations to be given by a finance manager while making an investment decision. The next role, that is risk management. Finance manager should ensure that the risk in the following areas are managed carefully. One is foreign exchange risk. The second one, interest rate risk. Now, foreign exchange risk. Imagine a situation when the company has got a lot of business dealings in foreign currency and it has to pay its suppliers in foreign currency after 6 months. So the current exchange rate of that particular foreign currency and the exchange rate at the time of payment, that is after 6 months, may be different. It may be beneficial or it may not be beneficial. So finance manager should ensure that appropriate actions are being taken to mitigate this risk or to avoid this risk. Now, interest rate risk. Imagine a situation where company has got borrowings at fixed interest rate as per the current rate, and after 6 months the interest rate comes down. Say now it is 5% and after 6 months it is 4%. So company has to pay this 5% even after 6 months. So it's a loss for the company. So finance manager should ensure that he has appropriate methods to tackle such kind of interest risk. So these are the roles played by a finance manager in an organization, the major roles, and in subsequent videos we will cover each of these roles in detail. So guys, that's the end of the video. Please comment if you have any queries. I'll try to come back to you at the earliest. Thank you very much for listening to my video.